Hello, I'm Brigantia, Blackbird of Blackbird's Brew. Happy Thursday, and welcome to our introduction to Yule. Now, this is going to be a very generalized video. It's not going to be exhaustive. If it was, well, it would be multi-hours and have to be broken up into many parts. But I just wanted to get the basics out there. To get people who've never celebrated Yule before or who aren't really aware of what Yule is, just to get acquainted with some of the more fundamental ideas and practices, what it's about. And of course, it's a nice little refresher course for anyone who's been at this a while, may have gotten away from it, and now is wanting to come back to it and reincorporate the spiritual tradition into their lives. So, super basic, nothing complicated here, very straightforward. It's just about getting our feet wet and getting excited for this very special time of year. So, let us begin. Yule takes place during the winter solstice. This marks the longest night of the year and also the weakest point of the sun during the year. The exact date is going to vary, as all things astronomical do, but it's going to hover around the 21st of December in the northern hemisphere. Of course, in the southern hemisphere, you'd be looking at sometime in June. Now, Yule can be thought of as, a single day event or as a larger festival or a season. As the things have gone through the centuries, sometimes it's been a shorter celebration, sometimes longer. Sometimes it lasted as long as the ale did. But there is also, in modern practice, a kind of resurrection of the idea of having the 12 days of Yuletide. And this is very similar to the 12 days of Christmas, only, they borrowed it from us, not the other way around. And the dates do vary for this. Generally, what I do and what has been common amongst information I've looked up is that for a lot of people, they generally consider the celebratory season to be specifically between December 20th, which is usually called Mother's Nights, when the goddess is considered to be in labor and getting ready to give birth to the coming son, and then it'll end around December 30th. And again, this does vary within pagan traditions. And some practitioners during this time, they might not do anything particularly, or observably special. Others choose to have daily observances or little miniature celebratory rituals, tiny little offerings in between the main events of the season. There's a lot of room for making this a very personal, very individualized experience. So a lot of it is just up to you about how you choose to celebrate it. Now, what it does celebrate is that symbolic rebirth of the sun and of the god in Wicca. In addition to that, there are many gods and goddesses from the ancient pantheons who are also honored at this time of year. So if you're interested in a specific pantheon, you might do a little bit of side research to find out who might be wanting your attention right about now. And you'll notice, if you do even more research, that these deities come from all over the world. And when I was doing a little bit of research for this, just to add a little information, I saw that nearly every continent on Earth had some kind of celebration around the time of the winter solstice. And this has been a consistent in ancient and modern religions, whether they're monotheistic or polytheistic. There's just some kind of special occasion around this time. Even if you're looking at things in a more cultural or in a more secular way, even our figures such as Santa Claus and Mrs. Claus, they are echoes of older beings in mythology, and they represent older themes that have survived the various millennia. So it does seem that there is something that is inherently sacred about this time of year. And because of this similarity and because it's crossing cultures, crossing religions, crossing time frames, it's just too much of a coincidence for it to be a coincidence, in my opinion, that so many people within human history have said, gosh, December's coming up. Let's do a little something spiritual. Let's have a celebration of some kind. It just doesn't seem like something that was just pulled out of thin air. There is something about the prevailing energies. Now, as with all things, when it comes to our celebrations, there are certain common correspondences. These are going to be very, very familiar to you because these are pretty much the same things that were borrowed by Christianity from earlier forms of paganism. So, plants, all forms of evergreens, and holly and mistletoe, cinnamon, cloves, nutmeg, peppermint, poinsettia, amaryllis. These are deeply familiar to us. We see them every single year, and that's one of the benefits of the borrowing that took place. For animals, imagery such as stags, reindeers, bears, pigs, ravens, wrens, cardinals, stones, the sparkly onyx, rubies, garnets, bloodstone, jasper. For metals, gold and silver. And the color schemes itself, red, green, white, charcoals, espresso browns. We know what colors correspond with this because it is all part of the surviving cultural heritage. It doesn't seem to matter who people are praying to or if they're praying to anyone at all. There is something about this set of things that has endured. So incorporating any of that would be extremely appropriate. It would not be out of place at all. So if you have been a Christian most of your life and you've just begun to explore paganism, great news. You don't have to buy new decorations. They just represent slightly different things to you now. This brings us to the activities. Of course, decorating the altar, decorating the home, and as mentioned, because so much of the imagery and so many of the decorative items were borrowed from earlier pagan traditions, it makes it so much easier because we find them in stores. So you give good luck walking into a store this time of year and not seeing something of this kind. Another activity, of course, is the giving gifts, making gifts. Homemade gifts are often popular because it is an opportunity to infuse the love into the gift. And oftentimes it does tend to be less expensive than going out and buying something. And there is something it does touch the heart a little bit knowing that someone went to the trouble to make you something. So it's an opportunity to make something a little extra special. Another activity involves acts of community service, simple things such as tidying up the streets, picking up trash if there is any. You could be donating food and clothing or volunteering in shelters, sending care packages, particularly if it's members of the military overseas. And there are pagans who do serve in the military, and sending something specifically for them, if we're in a position to do so, I think that would be a very caring and a very loving thing to do. And we'll let them know that not only are they not forgotten by their countrymen, they're not forgotten by their spiritual brothers and sisters. Other things we can do involves feeding the birds and other wildlife, caring for stray animals, just kind of taking care of our larger community in general. And then, of course, there is the fun stuff, the baking, the crafting, playing games with the families, music, even caroling. As the month goes on, I am planning to rewrite some of the lyrics to common Christmas carols into something that's a little bit more pagan focused. So get ready for poetry of dubious quality. But also we could have bonfires. There's lots of storytelling to be done at this time of year. We have our rituals, our spells. We could go into performances or maybe watching them online. And then, of course, we could get up on the morning of Yule and greet the dawn and just say hello to that brand new fresh sun that's going to be waxing through the coming year. So, I hope this has kind of got you a little bit excited about Yule and started getting you to brainstorm about what you might be wanting to do this year. If you'd like to discuss it further or talk to people about their own ideas or what traditions that they personally have, please feel free to visit us at Blackbird's Brew on Discord. There's a link to join us in the description box below. And of course, subscribe to this channel, like the video, leave me a comment, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.